Thank you for turning to page 121, my continuing week of Traveler. The video today is going to be about psionic devices, both to enhance and degrade psionics in Traveler, and some of my stuff is going to be taken from the 2022 core rulebook. I'm also going to be taking some stuff out of the new High Guard write-up. Yeah, there's some psionic equipment in this book as well. I realize Central Supply Catalog has some. Unfortunately, I don't have the current iteration of Central Supply Catalog. I haven't picked that up yet. That was during my whole, I have the old Traveler stuff. I don't need Mongooses stuff. Boy, was I wrong, by the way. So that's one that I'll be getting down the line sometime. But for today, I'm going to stay out of these, and then out of the, there's a couple of neat things out of one of the JTAZs. So by no means exhaustive, by no means everything even Mongoose Second has published. Simply what I have at my fingertips, and I'm going to discuss today on page 121. Also want to remind you, subscriptions, as always. I'm always trying to build the channel, make things grow, get more clicks, more things moving for the channel. I've got a Patreon going. I am looking at a Traveler reward for Patreon. I haven't decided yet what that will be. Was going to be my notes from my campaign. It may still be because of life events that you are probably aware of if you follow my channel. I haven't had as much time to devote to this as I had hoped I would. That's easing a little bit. So hopefully things will continue to get better. And as things continue to get better, I will be able to devote more time to it. So again, Patreon right now, I'm just looking to upgrade some of my electronics, maybe get an actual background for Traveler, that kind of thing. But back to the topic at hand, psionic devices as part of Traveler Week on page 121. If you watched my previous video on psionics, the psionics themselves, the rather marathon video that I did, you'll know that psionics are on my mind, so to speak. So I thought, what the heck, I was doing all the work to prep for the psionic video, and I found a bunch of different topics I could cover. So one of them, of course, is equipment for psionic. So as I said, either to enhance or degrade. And we're going to take a look at both. There is a ton of psionic equipment lurking around in Traveler in every iteration of it. Even Mark Miller's Traveler did a really nice book on psionic institutes. And I knock Mark Miller's Traveler pretty much all the time I can. T4 was not the highest quality product ever put out. But that being said, that's a nice book. I'm going to take a look at that book sometime down the line. But here we are with psionic technology. The bans on psionics within the Imperium means that most of these technologies are illegal in charted space. Exceptions are anti-psionic devices like the psionic shield. So basically, again, for reasons I'm not going to go into in this video, psionics are illegal in charted space within the Imperium. Not charted space, but within the Imperium. And it's illegal for you to have psionics or have psionic devices. But here's some of the devices you could have anyway. Psi drugs. These start at tech level 8. These drugs restore psi points if taken after the traveler's expended psi points, or temporarily increases the traveler's psi if taken when they are at full strength. So if I have a psi of 9, as I used in my example in the psionic video, and I need to restore 5, I could take a standard dose and restore 6. I'd only get 5. Or if it was at full power, I could boost it by 4, and it costs 1,000 credits. Double dose would give me 9 points restored, a plus 6 boost, and cost 4,000. And then special is 12 points restored, plus 10 boost, and 10,000 credits to have it. A traveler takes more than one dose of standard or double psi drug, or a single dose of the special psi drug must make an endurance check with a die modifier of -1 per psi drug taken within the last week. If the check has failed, the traveler falls ill, suffering 3 die damage, and permanently reduces their psi by 1. Don't mess with the psi drugs. They can mess you up pretty bad. Inhibitor drug, tech level 9. Psionic inhibitors dampen the brain's ability to generate psychic effects. A traveler who takes or more often is forcibly injected with an inhibitor drug suffers a die modifier of -3 to all psi-related checks and cannot regain psi points. Each hour the traveler may make an endurance check to throw off the effects of the drug. Inhibitor drugs have no effect on non-psionic individuals, and the cost is 500 per dose. So there you go, something that would degrade your psionic. A psionic shield, tech level 12. These pop up in the earliest Traveler that I ever encountered. Any armor incorporating a helmet or hood can be outfitted with a psionic shield, automatically blocking all telepathy powers. This costs 4,000 credits. Buildings and vehicles can also be psionically shielded, but this is much more costly, increasing the cost of the vehicle by 10%. I like that idea. You can make an entire building, like an embassy to the Zodani consulate. You would just make it psi-proof. I love that idea. Maybe you run a game where you're part of the Zodani security and someone's found a way through your psionic proofing. And you've got to find the hole and plug it. That's just one idea that pops into my head just based on that write-up. Psionic interface. I like this. It's kind of like a palm lock for your mind. Tech level 14. Any weapon or technological device can be outfitted with a psionic interface. A traveler using a device with a psionic interface can use their psi die modifier instead of their dex die modifier when using a weapon or device. A traveler without psionic ability cannot use the device. The traveler must either touch the device or use telekinesis at no psi cost to interact with it. Adding a psionic interface increases the cost of the device by 20%. That's kind of neat because what it tells us is that if I have a gun, for instance, because that's the first thing that popped into my head, I'm the only one that can fire it unless there's another psionic there. And even then, I'd make him work to unravel my little personalized Psylocke. No pun intended for the X-Men there. And then adding using my telekinesis. If I don't have telekinesis, I couldn't do this, of course, but I could hold the gun remote from me and fire it and still be accurate and still get my die modifiers for it. I think that's really cool. You've got a standoff where you're held and your gun's over there and you use telekinesis to float the gun up and take out the big bad guy. It's just an interesting idea, and I kind of like the way that would play in the game. A teleportation suit starts at tech level 12. This device can be integrated into a suit of armor or worn as a form of hugging bodysuit. Rapidly cools or warms the body after teleport, minimizing the damage of sudden energy gains and losses. When you look at teleport, it goes into that a lot. You can really get messed up by changing altitudes when you teleport. Suit costs 5,000 credits and allows the traveler to jump up to 600 kilometers up or down in a single teleport, or up to 10 kilometers in a single hour when using successive jumps. So it's a nice little item to keep your psionic alive. So that's all that we have in the core rulebook. Now we're going to take a look at what popped up in Highguard. Highguard just came out at the end of July, and in reading through everything and prepping for this video, and then prepping for my Highguard video that I did a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, I found that there's some psionic stuff in here. So it's on page 84. As soon as it catches up, sorry about the dead air, I'll try to keep chatting while it thinks about it. My tablet's a little stunned that I just did that to it. There we go. Alrighty, here we go. Psionic technology. Blow this up a little bit. The use of psionics can be hated, feared, or illegal in many universes. However, the sheer impact psionics can have on any dynamic in space, be it battle or trade, is too great to ignore. High technology is therefore used to degrade or enhance psions in space. So a psionic capacitor, this would be built into your ship. I thought this was really cool. Through a combination of exotic matrices and carefully engineered crystalline technologies, the psionic capacitor is an effective artificial storage system for psionic energies, which can be drawn upon by any psion on board the ship. A psion must succeed an average check of 8 up as a free action to gain access to the capacitor every time they wish to draw psi points from it. The psion can then use any amount of psi points present in the capacitor for any psionic power used in the same round. It's a battery. That's a great idea. I love that. Psionic capacitor becomes available at tech level 18. It costs 10 mega credits per ton and consumes 10 power per ton. It can hold a maximum number of psi points equal to 10 times the tonnage and automatically regenerates 1 psi point per ton per every hour, as long as sufficient power is available. Now, tech level 18, of course, the Imperium maxes out at 15, with cutting edge 16, but tech levels are a very general thing. There's no reason this couldn't be something that's available in a military vehicle. I think that's just a great idea. I love it. You have a psion stateroom. The stateroom is equipped with psionically calibrated mood-calming environment sensors that promote peace and relaxation. This allows the psion to greatly increase the regeneration of their powers after using them and expending their psionic powers. A psion stateroom is identical to a normal stateroom in every way, but a psion within increases their psi regeneration rate by 50%. The psion stateroom becomes available at tech level 12. It consumes 4 tons and costs 2 mega credits. Again, very cool. And now psionic shielding. We just talked about it in the other one. Here it is. Incorporating exotic metals as a matrix embedded within the hull of a ship can make it extremely difficult for clairvoyants and telepaths to use their powers within shielded areas. While this technology is difficult to employ and of limited effect, any edge can be worthwhile if a captain wishes to protect themselves from psions. Psions using clairvoyance or telepathy powers suffer a penalty within this ship or upon its occupants. However, the shielding is most effective on small vessels, and larger vessels tend to have developed holes that a cunning psion can exploit. So back to my idea about the building, and you're the security there, and it's got a hole. You can have the same thing here. Ships above 500 tons receive no die modifier. The penalty for clairvoyance and telepathy powers is die modifier -4 for ships of 300 tons or less, and die modifier -2 for ships 500 tons or less. Ships of less than 100 tons are completely impenetrable. Psionic shielding becomes available at tech level 12. It consumes 1% of the total tonnage of the ship and costs 500,000 credits per ton. At tech level 16, advanced psionic shielding becomes available. This consumes no tonnage and costs 1 mega credit per 100 tons or part of the ship being shielded. Again, I could see a bunch of scenarios writing themselves. I also would include any kind of psionic teleportation if it's on a vessel that has the shielding and I have a die modifier of -4 and you're trying to teleport onto my ship, then I'm going to hit you with a die modifier -4 for the shielded ship. It just seems a natural extrapolation of the power to me. So we're going to take a look at one more place from one of the JTAZs and a few more psionic things. The first thing we're going to look at is out of Journal of Travelers Aid Society number 1. Actually, all the items are going to be out of JTAZ 1, but this is not a device, it's a plant. It's an oracle plant. It contains hallucinogenic chemicals and certain features believed to facilitate visions. And then if you have a psi talent, if you have no psi talent, you consume the stems. You experience vivid and debilitating hallucinations for 10 die 6 minutes, and then you won't really gain anything from it. If you have a psi of 1 or greater, but never receive training, you get a genuine vision and determine or not whether this occurs, and you may acquire clairvoyance as the clairvoyance skill in the core rulebook. If successful, you permanently acquire clairvoyance, and then a traveler with psi 1 or greater who's received training may consume oracle stems to temporarily boost their abilities. So this would be a form of psi boost. The traveler feels lightheaded for 1 die minutes, suffering a -1 check on all things they do in that time after first eating the stems, but once this passes, they benefit from die modifier +2 on their next psi-related check, as long as the check is made within the next 24 hours of consuming the stems. I think that's really cool. So this would be a good MacGuffin too. Your oracle plant, you've planted some, you're growing them aboard the ship as part of the hydroponics, and you just nip down there and take a little bud off of it in the morning, and you get a die modifier +2 check anytime you're needing to do psionics. I think it's a really cool thing. You could do an entire game based on getting your hands on an oracle plant, whether it's in the wild or from someone in a bazaar. And the next thing we're going to take a look at is going to be the Psi Mask. This potent artifact was devised by a race with no psionic abilities of its own, who feared the psionic abilities of its enemies. It's half black, half crimson, with narrow slits for the eyes and mouth. A tiny gravotic device allows it to float in place. Creature trying to use a psionic ability against someone wearing a psi mask suffers die modifier -2 to their psi-related check. Anyone, including the wearer of the psi mask, who tries to use a psionic ability within 10 meters of this artifact suffers die modifier of -1 to any related. Now, I would say that that's cumulative. So if I'm farther away from the person, I only take the -2. But if I'm within 10 meters of the person, I get -2 plus -1 is -3. So there you go. Those are just a handful. I could go back to the old books and pull out a whole bunch of other psionic things, but I don't think I really need to do that. I think I've made my point. There are a bunch of psionic devices or chemicals. There's even some animals that enhance psionic powers or have psionic powers themselves, and ways you can integrate them into your traveler campaign. Again, those pesky psions can really put a campaign on its ear. So maybe you're going to do a campaign where your players are opposed by a psion, and you want to take the psion out, so you come up with a little psion inhibitor that you're going to deliver via shooting a pneumatic dart into the individual, and that will inhibit their psionic powers. Any number of things you can do with this. It's a great tool. That's why it appears in so much science fiction, is that psi powers are such a great tool for the writer or the game master. So that's all I've got to say for today. I want to thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed what you heard and saw. If you did, please like and subscribe. Please tell friends. I'm still doing subscriptions. Over half my views are from non-subscribers. So come on in. We talk about games here. I'm going to continue Traveler Week. I hope you're enjoying it. And don't fear, I will go back to other games. I'm just indulging myself a little bit and having some fun with Traveler this week. So that's it for today on page 121. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.